cursed church in Pennsylvania, where no one who entered in the last 100 years ever came back alive. Local legends say that a forbidden black magic ritual from the 1800s is still alive beneath this very ground. The air here is said to whisper, and the shadows on the walls are believed to crave human blood. Today, we are going to uncover that horrifying truth, which will send chills down your spine. And remember, while watching this video, if you ever feel like someone is standing behind you, do not turn back, even by mistake. Deep inside the dense forests of Pennsylvania, there still stands an old abandoned church that cannot be found on any map or GPS. Locals have named this place Black Hollow for the last 100 years. Anyone who has stepped into the edge of this forest has never returned to the public eye again. It is said that in the late 1800s, a group of occult worshippers once performed a forbidden black magic ritual inside this very church. Their goal was to open the gates of hell, but the ritual was never completed. Yet something went wrong, or perhaps something stayed behind. The dark force they awakened is believed to still be trapped within the walls of the church. Even today, on moonless nights, strange blue smoke is seen seeping out through the broken windows, and through the silence of the forest, faint demonic laughter can sometimes be heard echoing in the distance. The elders of nearby villages warn their children with a single rule: never walk toward the side of the woods where even the birds refuse to sing, because there the ground does not recognize grass or leaves anymore. It only remembers fresh human blood. Those who once questioned the truth behind this story were never seen again. Their final trace was found deep beneath the church in an underground chamber whose door, once closed, can never be opened from the inside. 2 years ago, a team of paranormal investigators entered that cursed church in search of its dark secrets. They carried advanced cameras and recording equipment, but the moment they crossed the main gate, every electronic device suddenly failed. They immediately noticed that the temperature inside the church was at least 10 degrees colder than outside. A powerful stench filled the air, like rotting flesh mixed with burned skin. On the dust-covered floor, a massive pentagram had been drawn in ashes. At its center stood an ancient bronze bowl. Then something even more terrifying happened. Mark, the bravest member of the group, realized that his shadow on the wall was no longer matching his movements. While Mark stood completely still, the shadow slowly raised its hands and mimicked the act of choking its own throat. When Mark tried to scream in fear, he discovered that his voice was completely gone. At that moment, whispers began rising from every corner of the church, as if hundreds of unseen voices were chanting some ancient ritual in unison. The final blurry footage recovered from their camera that night showed something impossible. Every window and doorway inside the church was transforming into solid brick walls on its own, as if the building itself wanted to bury them alive. The others tried to escape, but Mark remained standing in front of the altar like a stone statue, motionless, as though some unseen force had placed him under a deadly trance. As Mark stood frozen like stone in front of the altar, the remaining team members desperate search for escape. But something was terribly wrong. Every hallway and corridor inside the church kept twisting back, leading them again and again to the same central chamber. They realized this was no longer an ordinary building. It had become a living labyrinth of black magic. Then suddenly, the ancient bronze bowl in the center of the room burst into blue flames inside the fire. They saw thousands of human faces twisted in agony. Souls believed to have been sacrificed within those walls over centuries. As the blue glow spread across the room, the plaster on the walls began to crack and fall away. Beneath it were human bones and raw flesh pushing through the stone. Every wall seemed alive. At that exact moment, an inhuman scream erupted from Mark's body, a sound no human throat could ever make. His eyes turned completely black, and he slowly began to rise into the air. The dust swirling around him started forming ancient symbols, glowing like burning letters in midair. When the rest of the team rushed forward to save him, the wooden floor suddenly split open. Dozens of black hands burst from beneath the boards and seized their legs. In that bone-chilling moment, they understood the truth. They had not fallen victim to ghosts. They had become part of the forbidden ritual of hell itself, one that could only be completed with blood. As those grotesque black hands dragged them deep into the ground, the entire church shook with a violent tremor. Old chandeliers crashed from the ceiling, and each shard of glass turned into a ball of fire. The moment it struck the floor, Mark still floated in midair, mumbling in a language that did not belong to this world. Then suddenly, the heavy iron door to the underground chamber burst open with a deafening roar. From the darkness emerged a towering shadow figure with animal horns upon its head and an ancient silver dagger in its hand. As the figure moved toward Mark, the whispers surrounding the church transformed into ear-splitting screams. The remaining team members clawed at the floor, desperate to save themselves, but the force holding them was beyond human strength. Then the bronze bowl at the center of the room began to overflow with blood. Seconds, the entire floor was drowned in a sea of crimson. The moment Mark's team stepped into it, they felt as though the flesh was being torn from their bodies while they were still alive. But strangely, they were not dying. Instead, through unbearable agony, their bodies were slowly being transformed into offerings for the demonic ritual. The walls of the church began drinking the blood like something starving, and from every crack between the bricks, fresh echoes of human crying rose once again. After that explosion, the entire forest sank into a terrifying silence. The screams and blood coming from inside the church seemed to vanish in an instant. The next morning, the locals found only faint smoke rising from that specific spot in the woods. But there was no trace of the church anywhere. It had completely disappeared. The only thing left behind was Mark's camera, lying on the ground, with its lens completely shattered. When the town police recovered it, they found no memory card inside. But during forensic examination, something far more disturbing was discovered. Written inside the camera body in blood was an ancient chant, one that no one has been able to translate to this day. Even now, people who pass by that mountain claim to hear Mark's voice on foggy nights. calling out from deep within the forest. If you ever walk near those woods in Pennsylvania and notice birds suddenly flying away from one direction, do not look that way, because the gate to hell that vanished from every map may be waiting there just for you. Remember, some mysteries are better left unsolved, because not every truth is something the human mind can survive.